The last section before we take the Chapter 2 test is on division of real numbers. Recall that a reciprocal is just a flipping of a number. We call that the multiplicative inverse. The product of any number and its reciprocal is 1. Any number times its reciprocal equals 1. 0 is the only real number that doesn't have a reciprocal because there's no number that when multiplying by 0 will ever give us 1. Let's think about the division rule. To divide a number by a non-zero number, you multiply by its reciprocal. That's why it was important to know what a reciprocal was. You keep switch flip or you keep change, however it is you recall from the past. You multiply by the reciprocal. So we'll take 3/4 and multiply by the reciprocal of 5/6, which is 6/5. There'll be times when you can cross cancel and simplify before you multiply, and other times you won't. In this case, they have a common factor of 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Let's multiply our numerators. Let's multiply our denominators. In my second one, you could just recognize this as being 16 divided by -2, just knowing your facts. Or you could rewrite it as 16 times 1 over -2 and cross cancel. You get your -8 either way. Watching the next one, this is 4 times the reciprocal. Again, I can cross cancel and I get 1/4. Remember, this is 4 divided by 16, so be careful when you do those types of problems. Now, to divide, again, remember that the rule is to multiply by the reciprocal. A whole number can always be written as a fraction or improper fraction by putting it over 1. So I have 8 times 5/4. Again, simplify before you multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. The one to the right is what we call a complex fraction. I've got a 3/4 divided by 12. Now remember, a fraction bar is a division symbol. So 3/4 times 1/12. Simplify before you multiply. 1/16. Again, this can easily be written as 2/3 divided by, because the fraction bar represents division, 4/9. The rule of division says to multiply by the reciprocal. You keep, you switch, you flip. 3 into 3 once, 3 into 9 3 times. Common factor here is 2, and I get 3/2. 3/2 can be converted into 1 1/2. The last one on this slide is dealing with mixed numbers. Now, before you can do anything with this problem, you must convert your numbers to improper fractions. If you recall, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That's 5/4. I'm going to keep that division sign for just a moment. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, 5/3. I've converted them, so now I can multiply by the reciprocal. I keep, I switch, I flip, or I just multiply by the reciprocal, however you remember to do this. And I get an answer of 3/4. So far, really nothing new. Let's just try these 3 on your own and see how you do. And we'll share the answers in class. So again, 3 for you to try. Now let's talk about the signs. The signs for finding a quotient are the same as for finding a product. The quotient of 2 numbers with the same sign is positive, and the quotient of 2 numbers with opposite signs is negative. So again, those rules, if you remember your rules of multiplication, you're going to remember your rules of division. Now let's just take a look at something slightly different. This is now an expression divided by a constant. I can look at this two ways. It's actually like a distributive property. I'm going to be dividing both terms on top by this divisor. It looks like a heart because we're sharing here. It's the same as if I were to say 32x divided by 4 and minus 8 divided by 4. So 32x divided by 4 will leave me with 8x, and this negative 8 divided by 4 will give me minus 2. Again, I think of this like a distribution because it's sharing, and it can go across, and I do not have to rewrite it, but in these first two problems I will. It's the same as if I took the first part of the expression and divided, and I took the second part and divided. Well, 42x divided by 7 will give me 6x, and 7 divided by 7 yields 1. One last one. Again, I'm sharing or distributing this to both parts. 25x divided by 5 is 5x, minus, and then I have 15 divided by 5 is 3. So this might be slightly different than something you've seen before, where we're dividing an expression by a term. And again, it's just looking at it as its two parts. Here we have two more. Now remember, this time I'm dividing by a negative. So I have 9 divided by negative 3 will be negative 3. And don't forget my signs now. When the signs are the same, I get a positive 9x. 24x plus 8 divided by negative 4. Take it as two separate parts. 24x divided by negative 4 is negative 6x. And then let's take that 8 and divide by negative 4, which gives us a negative 2. When the signs are different, you get negative quotients. The last thing I wanted to talk about today is evaluating expressions that involve quotients. I'm going to give you the values of a and b, and I'm going to ask you to simplify these expressions. Again, negative 2, and then a is negative 2, divided by negative 2 plus negative 3. We're looking at this problem saying we're going to be reviewing a lot of rules from this chapter, which is helping us because we have a test on Wednesday. Negative times negative will give me a positive. When I'm adding and the signs are the same, I keep the sign and I just add. And there is my final answer. Let's take those same values of a and b, and we're going to take negative 2 and square it, minus 4. And we're going to have b, which is negative 3. Well, negative 2 times negative 2, same signs, it will give me 4. 4 minus 4 over negative 3 gives me 0 over negative 3, which gives me 0. Because again, inverse 0 times negative 3 gives me 0. Let's take a look at one more. Again, I'm using negative 2 as my a and negative 3 as my b. This simplifies to negative 2 over 0, which we know to be undefined. We can never divide by 0. And there you have all there is in regards to finding quotients. Same signs, positive quotient, unlike signs negative. Sometimes we'll distribute if there's an expression. And we have to remember that division says to multiply by the reciprocal. I'll see you in class.